Welcome back. You're watching and listening to Breakfast with Stephen and Ellie.
You've been in touch over the trains, a lot on the trains. Yeah. But Cyril says, Stephen, come to visit the Far North Line in the Highlands. It runs as far as Wick, just short of the North Coastline. There are 4 return journeys a day from Inverness, and you will for certain love it.
And you want to go to Inverness, don't you? So Wick, I think you can add to the list.
Yeah, I do. Wick, I mean, it's quite a long way, but I've just seen there's a number of hotels popping up on the map already. The Nethercliff, the Caithness, McKay's, MacArthur House. I could stay in any of the Clachan bed and breakfast. It all pops up on Google.
Cyril, you've started something now.
So I could go up there. That'd be nice. Stay a couple of nights in Wick. Oh, lovely.
Oh, you've got it all planned out.
That sounds really good to me. It really appeals to me. Thanks, Cyril.
Peter's made a very good point, saying it's not just about train fares, is it? It costs £2,000 a year to park at a train station. It's all very expensive.
Yeah, that is a big issue. Look, let's have a look at the newspapers for you today. And the Sunday Times highlights reports of abducted Ukrainian children who never returned home after going on school trips. Thousands are missing, apparently.
The Observer's headline reads, he's gone full Trump. Tories are turning on Boris Johnson over Partygate after they call him and allies are desperate.
Sunday Express leads with the PM's promise to stop migrant boats with tough new measures. He's going to unveil those next week. This week, actually. This week,
yes. Well, it's time to go through the papers now. And joining us this morning is Ella Whelan and Asa Bennett. They've been with us all morning. And Ella, we're going to start with you because we didn't get to your Sue Gray's story in the early newspaper reviews. So let's go to that now, shall we? This is in the Mail.
Yes, so as Asa was talking about in the last hour, there is these kind of ongoing intrigue into how the appointment or the offer of the appointment from Keir Starmer came about with Sue Gray, her relationship with a Labour leader, potentially through her son, and the Mail goes into the fact that they go to football games together and all that kind of thing. And I think, but the Mail goes, I wanted to pick up on the Mail because it goes a little bit further and talks about the speculation that Sue Gray could be a spy or a plant called Redthroat, who is this civil servant who allegedly has leaked things like the news about the renovations to the flat number 10, and there was that moment and within Brexit negotiations where there was a huge amount of information leaked right at a crucial point, and so there is a suggestion in the Mail that perhaps she is behind something like that. They also point to the fact that she's been running appointments, the appointments team in the Cabinet Office, which means that she knows people's political affiliations. All of it, I must stress, speculation. There is
must have had this legaled one way or another, mustn't they? Because I mean, to say she's Redthroat.
Yes, it doesn't say, just to be very clear, it doesn't say that she is, but it's saying that there are people who are speculating that she might be. Right. So that's the way to get around it. But it's just interesting because I think, like we were saying with the Matt Hancock text, WhatsApp messages revelations about how you know that things happen, but you never sort of see them in black and white. You know that there is a relationship between newspapers and politicians, but you never quite see it in as stark sort of evidence as the messages between George Osborne and Matt Hancock. I think there's a sort of similar flavour of something going on here, which is that we know that there has been questions about problems within the civil service. We know that there has been tensions between civil servants and politicians. The Mail details an email from Sue Gray in which she sort of voiced her opinion on the government's decision to block the Scottish Gender Recognition Reform Bill. And things like that, I think, are worth noticing, that we are in a world of leaks, of intrigue, of spying, of bias, and all of that, I think, creates, for the people outside, GB News viewers and listeners watching, there is a sort of sense of cynicism about politics at the moment. And I think this kind of thing doesn't help, let's put it that way.
No, I don't think it does. What's going with in the Mail on Sunday, Asa? They're talking about pork wars.
Yes, it's very much the food and drink now in the headlines because it's all about free trade. We might be about to join the rather swankily named Trans-Pacific Partnership, which is basically a marketplace of 11 countries, 500 million people, of which include Canada and Mexico. And in exchange for us basically being able to import more of their, to sell more of our stuff, tariff-free trade, slashing tariffs so we can sell our goods over there much easier, we then will have to slash tariffs on their imports. And this includes Canadian, Mexican, pork, beef, meat, and obviously there'll be echoes you may be hearing about what happened when we had the Australia free trade deal, what happened with New Zealand. You know, it's that classic tension of, you know, you can well expect that Jamie Oliver, the National Farmers Union, will be kicking off later, because it is that thing of, you know, the more we import from abroad, the less we may be buying and eating at home.
Which I mean, there's real concerns of that, because it's about food security, and we need to develop our own food security here, don't we?
Well, of course, you also need to have good, strong trading links to be able to buy in what you need when you do need it. Because we saw during COVID what happens.
Why can't we buy stuff that we don't have?
Buy stuff that we don't have?
Rather than just buy stuff that we do have, only slightly cheaper elsewhere.
Well, some things, in terms of food and drink, it's about the diversity, the breadth, to be able to source, you know, the best of food the global markets can offer. And at the same point, I can make a patriotic idea that, you know, we quite rightly can all agree that, you know, British food and drink is the best, and so we should be proud to be able to sell even more of it abroad.
Yeah.
It can stand on its own 2 feet.
Shouldn't we be buying British and making an effort to do so?
Well, I think I stand by consumer choice really here, in that, you know, obviously, goods that are made in Britain, red tractor labels and all the rest, will proudly show the UK flag on their packs, and so consumers can make that informed decision. At the same time,
but it's part of this. I mean, this is supermarkets, isn't it? Because it's about, you know, if we go to the supermarkets and there's some pork that's, you know, 30% cheaper or 10% cheaper, whatever it is, than some other pork, then people are just going to go, well, I'll buy that one, it's cheaper, rather than actually thinking, well, that's Mexican, and the other one is British.
Yeah, I don't think people go in with as much as Ace is right. You know, the kind of patriotic approach to this might be a good thing. I don't think people go into Tesco or wherever and with that mindset they go in thinking about the money that's in their purse. And you know, my in-laws are farmers of cows and sheep, and they say that, you know, number one, the red tractor label is such an imposition and is, you know, a real pain for farmers and doesn't mean very much. But also, it's become increasingly difficult to be a small farmer in this country because of the onerous regulation, but also because of the cost of fertilizer, because of the, you know, so many of the sort of boxes that you have to tick. So in terms of food security, we also need to be looking at how we can make it easier and more affordable for people to grow our own here.
It's the perfect storm for farmers at the moment, isn't it?
Of course, and then you've got people like Jeremy Clarkson helping shine a light on what farmers are going through. So, you know, we're going to be, I'm sure this will be bubbling up later down the line.
I'm sure it will. Let's just have a quick look, 90 seconds, Ella, on the Sunday Times, and why we should all be getting health checks at work.
Well, I saw this and I thought, great, I won't have to wait for 45 minutes in the queue at the doctor's, you know, trying to fight for an appointment. I'll get one at work. No, what's happening is that in order to keep people in work, the government is going to pay to have health checks that will amount to basically being weighed for your BMI and blood pressure. So forget it being awkward, kind of, you know, hiding your lunch in the cupboard at work. You might be weighed at the water cooler, and you know that's meant to keep us in work. No, it's I could rant about this for ages. It's a breach of privacy. Some people want to keep their health, the life of their healthcare private, and it's also a complete ridiculous. You know, BMI, body mass index, is something that, you know, teenage girls can tell you it's not accurate anymore. It's a real example of a back of a fag packet policy that isn't going to do very much. Why not get more doctors and get more doctors' appointments? How about focusing on that?
Yeah. Well, because it's cheaper to buy a set of weighing scales and send it to the office.
And march everyone up at lunchtime.
Yeah, I mean, no, I wouldn't be getting my vote, that one, I have to be honest. Lovely. We're out of time, sadly. It's been really good to see you both this morning. Thank you very much indeed.